going to just kick us off. I have a real easy starter question. So as production specialists, let's have a starter conversation about what hybrid means and how is it different from virtual. So how, Laurel, Jen, and I'll chime in a little bit too, but, when we think about hybrid, how would you define that?
For me, I would say it's an event that has both an in-person portion as well as a virtual portion. I used to be a little bit more of a stickler about that they had to be concurrent, but I've really expanded my thinking on that, especially as we're thinking through how to deliver great experiences for all the audiences with the budgets that we have.
Yeah, I totally agree with Laurel. I mean, it's in the simplest, the blending, but the formats could be so different and what that actually looks like. And we could have a whole hour conversation on that alone. But from a production standpoint, I think a hybrid extends your boundaries. It extends your audience. It gives us the opportunity to think differently. It gives us the opportunity to beta test and take risk. So it's really exciting. But at the same time, from a production, it makes it that we have a lot more challenges. We have to think about what's happening in the face-to-face event and how does that timing work with your online audience. So you have different audiences. You kind of have three different audiences now, right? You have your face-to-face, your online, and then your blended audience. And what do those experiences look like? And then you also have all those production challenges. So the bandwidth of your team. How do you execute on all these? You have cost challenges, but even more than cost, I think it's really the time and the energy of your production teams, your team, and how you make everything work. So that would be kind of, I guess, as we're looking through this, would be some of the ways when you look at a hybrid, how it could be different.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it's funny because I think this last year, something that I've kind of similar to you, Laurel, I feel like I've sort of transitioned my thinking around the term hybrid. It's so funny because before the pandemic, we didn't even really call it that. It was like we were delivering a digital experience. We didn't really think about it as two different things merging together. It was just all one deliverable. Depending on where you were or what you were doing, you could experience that. So I would love us as an industry to be thinking of it in sort of those broader terms, like you were saying, Jen, and be able to really not worry about the limitations of the physical versus the virtual, but it's just we need access. We need access to the event and the experience and connecting with one another. So how do we do that, right? I sometimes feel the word hybrid it just feels a little limiting almost for some reason.
That's a great point. I agree. I love that where you're just looking at the whole experience and taking out the hybrid piece.
I think we have such a huge opportunity also with a lot of our clients. They saw attendance numbers and registrations jump pretty dramatically with virtual, right? Because you've taken away some of the barriers to entry. And how do we then maintain that larger size audience going forward? And so this is such a neat opportunity for the events industry to not only reopen again, but grow and extend our reach. I think, Jen, that's kind of the point you were making.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an exciting time, overwhelming, but exciting time. And when you're planning these events, it's the overwhelming piece is that you now have a clean sheet of white paper to design what you're going to be doing. It's not just this ballroom or this convention center, but really speaking to all those people you're just talking about, Laurel, what does this look like? So.
Yeah, we've created some really great expectations for being a virtual audience. But that's a little scary when we go back to in person and have a virtual component that's now the expectation is to have a much fuller and more produced experience and how to deliver that with maybe the budget that you had before for in person or hopefully slightly higher.